why I think it's a waste of time to become absorbed in our 2016 presidential election. It's a waste of time to be caught up in all this media, this ludicrous sideshow that we call politics. It's a waste of time because ultimately the victors of these politics are the ones that can raise the most money. And where this most money comes from is not from individuals like you and I, but it's being orchestrated by politicians. It's kind of like the products that do the best are the ones that can market the most, and the ones that can market the most, the ones that have access to most capital. Now, ultimately, there are flukes, and we saw Obama as a fluke who got into the White House via social media. And the thing is even though he campaigned on this idea of change, nothing changed. Nothing. And even though we love Bernie and we want Bernie in power, and let's say we do elect Bernie. Let's say he does. He's going to fight the corporations. He's going to bring about these different things. He's going to put all these taxes. Well, guess what, Bernie? You have to get the support of both the House and the Senate behind your ideas. And neither of these corporately owned, corporately bought institutions are going to support your radical ideas. Even though I support them, I believe in them, I believe in you, I know you're doing the right thing. Unfortunately, we need 100, 200 more Bernies in each of the houses in the Senate. And unfortunately, we don't have that. And we won't have that. So voting for Bernie is a complete waste of time. Even though I admire the guy, I think he's amazing. His track record and everything speaks for itself. People call him a communist. He's not a communist. He's not a socialist. He sees the problem for what it is. And he's trying to bring about the change. And he's trying to tackle complex problems the same way Carter did. And the same outcome of Carter is going to have the outcome of Bernie. Let's say he does get in after the first 4 years. Because what people don't understand, in order to tackle complex problems, the solutions are going to have initially an adverse effect. And his opponents are going to build on these adverse effects. And as a result of that, we'll basically collapse him. And I'll give you a case in point. Carter understood the problems killing the bees back in the late 70s was pesticides. Well, how did he know this? Well, because Rachel Carlson wrote this book that was required reading at the time in schools called Silent Spring. And ultimately, she predicted that the use of pesticides were going to basically destroy our ecosystem. And he listened, and he enacted the most stringent pesticide regulation ever seen in America. We haven't seen more rigid pesticide regulation since then. Also at the time was the height of the EPA movement. The planet, Greenpeace, all these different things. You know, we had a planet that people that really cared about our planet. And all these things were undermined. Because they were trying to tackle complex problems. And even though they couldn't see the benefits, even though now, 30 years later, we could see that actually the bees started to recover during Carter's administration because of the restrictive pesticides. But then as soon as he got out, Reagan repealed everything, destroyed everything. All the good work that he'd done has gone. And we're basically now living, in many respects, are the end days of our planet. I think we've crossed the tipping point. And we're going to see runaway climate change. And ultimately, anyone who really looks at the science will tell you, we cannot turn back the clock, because even if we stop the clock now, it's still going to be ticking away, and the melting is still going to occur and everything else that's happening. We can't stop the melting now. It would take 20, 30, 40 years to bring that about, probably. I'm guessing here. I'm not a scientist. But it's kind of like, imagine you've got a locomotive, and each of the wagons is full of greenhouse gases. And it's going faster and faster and faster. Now, you could slam on the brakes of that thing. What's going to happen? It's going to keep on rolling. And it's going to slowly come to a stop. But it's going to take, it's going to take a long amount of time. So unfortunately, it's too late for Bernie. It's too late for the system. Because our system is inherently broken, and unless we change the system, there is no hope. There is no hope. Write it out. Do what I'm doing, trying to set up sustainable living homes via Foundups. Do what I'm doing, start growing your own food. Move to a place where there isn't any control over the water. In Japan, you'll never see a company coming in and basically taking control of the water. Place that basically has very strong small farmer laws. Large farmers do not have, and never, in my view, will never have a say in Japan's government. GMOs and other things, free. You have to start moving to a country and places where ultimately corporations don't have a hold, that don't control the politics. England, somewhat. They have caps on how much can be spent on elections, for example, and other things. Bunker down. That's what I would suggest to do. Sorry, Bernie. I love you, but ultimately, electing you is a waste of time.